Hi and welcome. You're listening to the Fix My Brain podcast with your host, Dr. Todd Turnbull. In this podcast series, we will be reviewing the fixmybrain.org website. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to today's broadcast. We're going to be talking about anxiety after a head injury. If you go to fixmybrain.org, it will open to the Test My Brain, and you can scroll down to the section that says Feeling Anxious/Nervous. We're going to look at anxiety issues and we're going to rate those anxiety concerns on a 0 to 10 scale. 0 being there's no issues, and a 10, the anxiety or the issue is as severe as it can get. Before we do the rating, there's a couple of things I want to cover with you. First of all, anxiety is either the direct result of inflammation in the brain, where your brain is irritated and your glucose and oxygen supplies are being burnt up. Your autonomic nervous system is overactive. It's on overdrive. Your brain is running super fast, which makes it super sensitive and irritated to everything such as light and noise, and your tolerance level is very low. And then there's also the indirect result of a head injury, which is the trauma recall, the PTSD. If you were in an auto accident, driving by that location might create more anxiety. Some of the symptoms associated with anxiety include racing thoughts, having dizziness or lightheaded, being overwhelmed, having sleep disturbances, mood changes, personality changes such as anger and depression, panic attacks, vision changes, having eye strain, having headaches, and again, the noise sensitivity and light sensitivity. I had a firefighter who his colleagues had told me he needs to see you. He's changed. His personality has changed. And when he came in, I started to review with him about his accident, and his tolerance was so low, he had to leave. He couldn't talk to me about it. It was too much for him. Again, it was triggering for him, and I understand that. And the thing I shared with him is please get help. One of the things I want you to understand, a mild traumatic brain injury, if you've been diagnosed with that, understand that the mild part of that only means that there's minimal observed physical damage. In other words, they don't see a fracture, they may not see you bleeding from your skin, but that doesn't mean your brain injury is mild. Your brain injury can have very significant functional changes. And anxiety is one of those changes that's pretty significant. There is a very common subtype of anxiety, which is called social anxiety disorder. These disorders include fear and avoidance of social situations, and it's usually based on the concerns of either that sensation of being watched or being judged or the potential for being humiliated. And these disorders, again, they cause people to avoid social situations that might cause them some more challenges. Some of those anxiety issues with being in social situations are accompanied by things like trembling or blushing or heart palpitations and even sweating. This is the type of anxiety that usually can lead to personality and mood changes. One of the other things we talked about PTSD, and along with the PTSD, again, if this is something like related to a car accident, if you notice that after the car accident, you're going to be very hyper vigilant. You're going to be looking around way more concerned. Oh no, am I going to get rear-ended again? Is somebody going to hit me from the side? And so you're going to have challenges, or even being a passenger in a car can be very challenging for you. One of the other things that occurs is flashbacks can occur. Especially if you're driving near that same scene of the accident, you can have flashbacks related to that accident, and that's going to impact your level of anxiety. And one other note for you, if you are using substances, drugs, alcohol, etc., that's something that's going to absolutely trigger more issues. And so it's challenging to detox when you're suffering from a brain injury. But I want you to understand that using that substance that you may have used before is going to continue to create issues for you. We're going to rate your anxiety symptoms, that little red line there. We click on the arrow, and then it's going to open up to this series of questions. And this is something you can use as a daily monitor to see, where am I today? Are you nervous, anxious, or worrying too much? And again, that could be a low, that could be medium, or that could be really high. Do you have trouble relaxing? Again, you can rate on that. It's a 1 to 10 scale. Are you restless? Is it hard to sit still? And that might be very mild, or again, it could be very severe. And then, are you easily angered or annoyed? Again, your tolerance level after head injury is going to be usually pretty significant. Do you avoid situations for fear of being watched, judged, or humiliated? And again, what level is that for you? There's your social avoidance issue. Do you have panic attacks? If you're having panic attacks, how severe are they? Hopefully, you're not having any, but if you do, go ahead and rate those. And then, are you fearful? And I actually had a patient who came in one time and told me that his fear was an 8 out of 10. And it was really sad to hear his story because he was over 50 years old, but his fear was that his father was going to beat him. Well, I imagine that his dad is probably 70s and 80 years old, so physically probably not able to actually physically beat him, but he grew up with that. And so he still had a significant level of fearfulness, which was adding to his anxiety. As you go through this again, you can email your results to yourself, a friend, family, healthcare provider, etc. And then as we continue to scroll down, we've got this generalized anxiety disorder. This is known as the GAD-7. This is a self-reported questionnaire for screening and severity measuring of general anxiety disorder. Again, this is something you can print out and send a copy to your healthcare provider to have them put it into your record and see where you're at. And so let's go ahead and open that link up. And as you'll see here, we're going to rate over the last 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by the following problems? And the answers are going to be not at all, which would be a 0, several days in the past 2 weeks, more than half the days, or nearly every day. So again, there's the feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. And have you been feeling that nearly every day for the past 2 weeks? And then not being able to stop or control worrying. Is that more than half the days? Is that just several days? Again, check the box that's appropriate for you. Worrying too much about different things. And again, there's that severity level. Is that occurring every day? Trouble relaxing. How frequent is that for you? Being so restless that it is hard to sit still. Again, these are some of the same questions you answered before, but this is more on a frequency basis over the past 2 weeks versus how significant is it for you today or the past 24 hours. Becoming easily annoyed or irritable. Again, if that's nearly every day and it's significantly high, there's some challenges there. Feeling afraid as if something awful might happen. How significant is that for you? How often are you feeling that? And then you can take and add up those scores through each column going down, and then the total score, adding all those together. If you checked off any problems, how difficult have these made it for you to do your work, take care of things at home, or get along with other people? And again, there's the not difficult, somewhat, very difficult, or extremely difficult. There's places for you to sign. If somebody else helped you do this, they can put their name in there. And again, you can send it off to your healthcare provider. I will be creating an additional video to follow up on this one regarding personality changes. So look for that. I plan on doing that in 2 parts, a personality change video for the person who's suffering from personality change and personality change for friends and family members. I want to thank you for tuning in today and have an awesome day.